With just 2 rounds left in the championship, and of course, one driver on top and 20 more looking to knock him off, today could be a championship clinching day. But before that, one long race around Hungaroring. Hello, and welcome in to RCI TV. I'm Jesse Lee here in place of Ryan Gill with Nate and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell, bringing you all of the action today. And Nate, first of all, welcome in. We are here at Hungaroring, but the burning question is, 4 races in a row, Wolf Matuszka has won every single one of them. Can somebody beat him today?
Well, good evening, Jesse. It's nice to be here. And as you know, the number one, the chairman, the leader, the only member of the Wolf Matuszka fan club here. I don't know. To be fair, he's driven very well. I don't think anyone can deny that. We can't, qualifying and the race, he's just been, a force to be reckoned with. However, he made a mistake in Spa and was very lucky to gain that win back based on the mistakes of other people around him. Didn't qualify well at Brand's last time out, and again was very lucky to win that based on mistakes by other people around him. Obviously, you have to be in it to win it. You've got to be there or thereabouts. Obviously, there's no good him starting from the pit lane and going, oh well, he only won because of luck. Like he was in the right place at the right time. But there are some weaknesses there, and maybe this is another track that might expose a few of them and give the other drivers a chance to make up some ground.
That's an interesting introspective, and it hasn't been flawless this season. It, of course, has been difficult at times. I think we can all agree for Wolf Matuszka. We are talking about Wolf Matuszka, of course, winner of 4 in a row, chasing history here at RCI this season. Nate, nobody has won a series of this length throughout. Nobody has ever won every race in a 6-race series. He's trying to go 5 for 5 tonight.
Well, I feel if we roll it back a bit, Jesse, to championships gone by at Diamond Drive, we almost had a very similar thing of one driver was quite the force throughout the championship, and then all started to fall apart around this time in that championship. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled. Obviously, me and you very well known for our commentator's curse. So let's see what kind of instance we can cause tonight.
Commentators curse so bad that people still bring it up to me today for races that happened, well, last year that I don't even remember, and they still blame it for it. Never take that away from racing drivers. They have a memory like a steel trap. Of course, we are here for round 5 of the Porsche Cup, and with just 2 rounds to go, Wolf Matuszka has more history he could make tonight other than winning a 5th in a row. If he does even reasonably well tonight, he could and is likely to clinch the championship before we even make it to the final round.
Wouldn't that be impressive? Just basically a free round to go. Well, I'm sure he's having fun as it is, but I mean a round to go out, no stress, no pressure. If he has an instant, spins off, doesn't finish, doesn't matter. He's won. So he'll be hoping for a good race tonight. But Jesse Lee, one man who will be hoping to stick a spanner in the works will be Andy Boardman.
Yeah, Andy Boardman has just been about his closest competitor. You can't outlook Klaus as well. Of course, we'll show you some points and give you some figures at some point later in the broadcast. But Andy Boardman has been a bit ferocious on certain accounts, and Klaus as well, having a fastest lap at a podium in another race. And those are his nearest competitors. Unfortunately, they're 102 points back, but even still, like you said, Wolf is not invincible. He has a couple of hitches in his armor.
Yeah, as I mentioned, some of the drivers will be looking to exploit that tonight if possible. Obviously, there's only been a handful of times we've seen Wolf Matuszka go out in practice, and those were tracks he felt he needed the seat time at, and obviously here we see him again out in practice. So perhaps not in a groove, in a rhythm with the track, or maybe just finalizing certain bits on his setup. We can only but wonder. But yeah, out on track, I mean, top of the board, so obviously very comfortable in the car, but obviously feeling that he's got more to bring to the table tonight.
Certainly does. Qualifying underway for the penultimate round in the Porsche Cup Championship. We're glad that you're with us wherever you are in the world. Why not join us, take a load off, and we hope that you're going to enjoy this race as much as we are. Mixed feelings about the Hungaroring amongst some of the faithful. Some really like the track, some don't like the track. I know that you, Nate, not a big fan of Hungaroring.
Well, I didn't mind it, and then I had an awful race here, and now I hate it. That's normally how it goes for me. I go to a track I like, think I'm going to do well, don't do well, hate the track, and then I never go back to it. But it does have a nice flow. Whether love it or hate it, you have to admit it, the track has a nice flow, especially the final sector is sorry, excuse me. The final sector is sorry, not the final sector, sector 2, apologies. You know, the top side of the track is wonderful to race, to drive, and yeah. Sorry, on board with Wolf Matushka. Looked like he got a little bit out of shape into turn 1 there, but I'm sure no doubt he'll correct that for the rest of the lap, Jesse.
Yeah, I talked to a couple of drivers pre-race today, and the only one that sounded even remotely confident was this man, Wolf Matushka, all alone at the top of the championship. Could it be another pole position? His biggest sort of regret this season was not getting all he could out of some of the qualifying efforts that he had this season. And beyond that, it has been just about perfect as he's struggling with the car, but you'd be hard-pressed to find someone that's not. And also in the race, you're going to have to pay attention to this chicane. It can spin one of these Porsche Cup cars out even without contact.
Yeah, as we see Wolf Matushka bouncing over the curbs there. The car looked a little bit unsettled. It seems like he had to get off the power. Loads of correction going on inside the car there. Really, really fighting the car. And here we're coming out of Sector 2 now, the part I've just mentioned. But I imagine people behind him also will be struggling with the same sort of issues of this, the twitchy back end of these cars. Obviously, rear-engined, engine hangs over the rear axle there. Rear-wheel drive, no traction control. It's just a recipe for trouble.
Very difficult but rewarding race cars to drive. And of course, we started with a green track. The track's now gone to fast. It is going to get better, so everyone will likely want to be on the track near the end of this session. That's where your faster laps are going to come from. Wolf's going to go ahead halfway through the session and reset after that lap there. Everybody else trying to get up the order. And this will be Klaus's first timed lap. Where will this be? Looks like he has traffic right in front of him as well. That is a huge disadvantage in this scenario. Shout out to Michael Redford. Wishes he was in AM tonight, stuck at work, but at least he has a race to watch. Cheers, Michael. Hope that you are enjoying work and enjoying the broadcast as well. As Klaus goes second quickest there, but only for just a second. Was nearly 4/10 slower, and Gasper now in second place, 3/100 slower than Wolf Matushka. It's close between the top two. Everybody else has just a little bit of work left to do.
Yeah, we've seen a couple cars come over the start finish and not set a valid lap at the moment. So, I mean, qualifying's pretty much half finished, and you know, some drivers are only just finishing their first lap. So, a little bit of a worry if you don't have your bank lap in. Obviously, as we saw last week at Brands, it really, again, talking about Wolf Matushka again, it really put Wolf Matushka on the back foot, and just he never really managed to put a decent lap in, or at least decent by, you know, what we consider from him. But obviously this week got his first lap in, nailed, fastest at the moment. But as you mentioned, Gegner Gaspar right there in P2, not that far behind. That's one traction zone, one corner, slightly later on the brakes, and the time is there.
Sure is. Bart Bacha here in the 4:04 for Connection Lost Racing. Gonna see if they can improve out of the 9th place position. 1.5 seconds to make up. Some significant time he could make up here. What's this lap going to shake out as? 6th quickest, an improvement on that lap there. Slots him into the 6th place position. Paulo Lima up into 7th with that lap, a 48.530 for the driver of the number 18. Donna Racer in the 699 goes into the top 10, but only just. Mikhail Sundstrom was as close as 11th. Catalunya comes in and knocks them back into 12th, and Carlos takes 11th for himself. Nobody rivaling the 47.705 of Wolf Matuszka yet. Gaspar is as close as anyone has gotten. Matthew Kingston Lee, love that last name. Don't know why. I'm not biased, I promise. In the 555 sets a lap of note, a 49.697, taking them to 16th place. Nobody in the third sector right now, not a single car. As the 25 just now enters that sector, a lot of open room if anyone would want to reset here, but I don't think you're going to see anybody do that, as it takes a bit of time to get the tires warm, even though it is very warm. 31 degrees C, 30 ambient here at Hungaroring today, and just a light breeze, nothing of note there. But everybody here trying to get the most out of the track. The track's going to continue to improve. It's went through that transition to green to fast, and I think we're going to see optimum here in the next few minutes. I don't think we'll get to that point, even with all these race cars on the track. But even still, even though it doesn't go to optimum, the grip is picking up, even though you can't really see it. But you will likely see it on the timing board. Mikhail Sundstrom had fallen down the order, gets back to 12th with that 48.772. And here is Gaspar in the 81. Will come across and see if they can get a little bit closer now. This is looking a little bit better for the 81. Let's see where they come out. And it is going to be a pole position lap. 47.407, 3/10 quicker than Wolf at the moment. And that's what he's talking about. That's what you're looking for.
Well, we got a yellow flag on the just in between the second to last corner there. Or sorry, after the second to last corner and the final corner. Not quite sure if that's going to impact anyone's laps, but yeah, as you mentioned, there was plenty of free track sort of floating around. Everyone was sort of in the same part. They're going to start tripping over one another soon, and then, of course, if you have someone who has an instant in front of you, it's going to cost you time, especially now. I mean, no one has time for another outlap and a flying lap. So essentially, I'd probably say the cars that are just coming into Sector 2 now, so the last one being the 121, will probably be the last cars to set a lap. I reckon they'll get one more lap after this, sorry, but everyone behind them, I think, will be, well, they're just going to run out of time.
Well, here's Wolf Matuszka, has won 4 out of 4 this season. He hasn't always started from pole. He hasn't needed to. He's had some good fortune, but could this be another pole position? He said his only weakness this season is he could have got more out of qualifying. He's second right now. Could it be more than that? It is not on this occasion, as that lap was several tenths slower than it needed to be. Still 3/10 off of the pole position by Gaspar in the 81. Terry's in the 889, third, and this man right here, Klaus Naring, in the SNS Racing Porsche in 4th place. But this is looking like a quick lap for Klaus now.
See where it takes him. Currently 4th, crosses, goes up to 3rd. So position gained, you know, little gains. That one grid slot might help him massively at the start of the race. But I imagine everyone now, as I mentioned, going to be really, really pushing. And I was wrong. The 121 did get a lap, but we've got a yellow flag at turn 1. Who's that? Didn't quite see. They returned to the pit, so obviously just they think their qualifying session is over. But that's it now. So the last car, the 192, we'll keep an eye on them, see what they could pop themselves up to. But unfortunately, everyone else, you've got to make it count now, because this is it. This is your last lap.
It is, and a lot of people are improving right now, and that's exactly what I expected to see out of this session, and that's exactly why nobody came to the pits early. Normally, you'd probably try to get one more set of tires on there, get them warm, and get back out there, but no dice today. Ethan Scott goes third, a 47.8 dead, the quickest lap for Ethan Scott, and that is where they will shake out among the first to finish qualifying. But what about Wolf Matuszka? Got in with just a few moments left to spare, and it will have to be a lap 3/10 quicker than their previous if they want the pole.
We wait with bated breath to see what happens here. He's not quick enough. He improved on his lap time, but no one could really get quite close enough to Giggly Gaspar today. It seems that one lap he put in, or sorry, 2 laps, and sort of nailed it on the second one. And yeah, no one's really sort of gotten close to him. Obviously, there are still a few people here on track, and Gegley himself is sideways. So that'll be that lap over. Yep, does indeed come into the pit lane.
I'm unsure if that was on purpose or a mistake. It might be a little bit of success. How about the home time, the hometown driver potentially on pole here?
Well, wouldn't that be amazing? They say being at home gives you those extra temps, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's going to be quite enough as we see a car just parked on the outside there as Terrace moves himself up into 4th place there.
Terry's in 4th place, and that will conclude qualifying for this session. Everybody into the pit lane. And while we have a moment, we're going to take a look at the championship standings in just one moment. And we will show you the damage that Wolf Matushka has done this season. Absolutely incredible stuff that he has been able to accomplish here. And again, chasing history is Wolf, and we're going to show you exactly why. Wolf Matushka 4 out of 4 with 278 points. That is 102 points more than Klaus Neiring and Andy Boardman, who are tied for second place in this championship. Which one of those two will end up having the better honors at the end of the year? We will see. Nico Kumpu in 4th place, only 6 behind with 170, and a little bit further behind is Mikhail Sundstrom with 156. Other than the one race where they finished outside the top 10, they've been rock solid, has Sundstrom. Outside the top 5, Muhammad Malik in the number 6th place position with 129 points, tied with Ethan Scott in the 34. Lubomir Zeman in the 8th place position, 115 points. Martin Lawrence in 9th with 98. Paulo Lima rounds out the top 10 with 95. Moving on to the second page, Victor Nordquist in the 19 with 93 points, 2 points behind him. Bart Macha and Andreas Sarka all tied for the 12th place spot. And behind them, Olaf Leffa in 14th with 83. John Arasser in 15th with 78, 1 point behind. Gergely Gasper, who is on pole today. Mawson Olijars with 61 points. Christian Lindgren with 58. Jordan Daly in 19th, 56. Joseph Varga with 52 points rounds out the top 20. Carlos in 21st with 46. Carlson with 43. Sumerman with 42. And a tie between Smeets and Kingston Lee for 24th place. 26 was Kuzma with 39. Van Kampen 35. Merveld with 28 points. Terry's, who had a great qualifying run here, with 20 points. Chris Rubliar in 30th has no points to this point. I don't think they're taking part in the championship, and I think they share that in common with some of the other drivers that did not appear on that list. Well, it is tight up front, maybe not for first place, Nate, but second place deadlocked with one race to go, and I'm not too convinced we're going to have a clear favorite going into the final week. Still going to be very interesting to see how those two shake it out today.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as you mentioned, first a little bit out of reach. Well, unless something drastic completely happens, but now fighting for best of the rest, second place, and there's definitely some pride in there. That's everyone wants to beat everyone. If you can't beat the first place, you always want to beat the second place. So I'm interested to see if anyone's going to play it cautious and try and keep out of trouble. We did see a handful of instances in the last few races. Granted, Spa was quite damp. But Brands just seemed like a lot of driver enforced errors. So do you play it safe and hope you avoid trouble and can sort of gain positions that way? Or do you go quite aggressive and, hope you can make the passes on track and pull away from everyone else?
Yeah, it's going to be very important. This track is known for its raceability. You can race somebody here, but you can get in trouble a lot too if you try to pass somebody ill advised, or if you get a little too close. You can send somebody or send yourself Turn one dives are really big here. Passes into the chicane are fairly popular, but ill advised, and passes off the final turn. How many times in RCI history have we seen that happen? Reading some of the comments from chat about Hungaroring, Ivan had this to say: Hungary has great flow, but I'm bad at it, so I absolutely hate it. I commiserate with that. And
Sounds
for
like
all of you
me.
that saw, yeah, same man. For all of you that may have saw our tool there, you didn't see nothing. That didn't happen. These are not the droids you are looking for. Uh, Michael Redford comments: the real question is whether Wolf does the back to first challenge. I don't think he'll be doing that today. I think he'll try and get Gasper off the line here. But if you are Gasper, you have outqualified the man who's dominated this championship. Nate, what are your tips for the 81 to stay out front today?
Don't let the other cars pass.
Wow. Okay.
No. Obviously, I mean, we know. Well, it's. I mean, Gaspar's been fairly quick all season. I mean, well, I say we. I've been quite focused on Wolf Tushka, but I did mention at the last race we can't take anything away from the other drivers that are, there or thereabouts, staying in touch with Wolf. Obviously, Gaspar out qualifying. I wonder if maybe the pressure might just be on him a little bit more now, thinking that he's got, the championship leader behind him, guy who's won the last 4 races back to back to back to back, on his rear wing. So uh, I'm sure everyone will say the same thing. The best thing is to try and not let the pressure get to you. And I'm sure Gaspar is well versed in the art of defending. I'm sure he will have the widest Porsche here at the Hungaroring today. And I imagine, well, Wolf has more to lose than he does to gain by passing Gaspar. So I wonder if he'll play it safe. And we may see again what we saw last week at Brands, with drivers pushing quite hard to close the gap, and then needing 1 or 2 laps just to back off to let the tires come back in from overheating, and then they'll push again and catch up. And we may see a lot of the gaps close, obviously from the pushing, and then open up again. So seeing someone catch another car isn't necessarily clear cut as, well, they're the faster car, because it could be that the car ahead is just driving gently to keep the tires alive, and then the car behind has to back off again to let their tires come back in. So there's going to be obviously split strategy. I mean, I think that comes into play every race. Bart Matcher, as in the last few races, pitted first or second lap, and then just rolled around in free air and tried to see where he can come out. Worked quite well for him in Spa. Didn't quite pay off in Brands. So the key is today, will it pay off today?
I think those are all excellent points. And, well, I'll tell you exactly what my dad always told me: it's lonely at the top, son. And that is what Wolf Matushka has felt all season long. For Gaspar, though, he is on pole in his home country. No better feeling than that. It doesn't matter if you're in a Porsche Cup, an F1, it doesn't matter. Home field advantage is home field advantage, and he will be looking to make that very abrupt turn into turn one and block the 25 from making a move, I would say. And of course, before we get going today, just want to pause and say thank you to our partners: Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. More information about those fantastic folks after the race.
So, Jesse, what do you think we're going to see into turn 1 here? Do you reckon carnage? Or, I mean, the drivers have been quite good this season. Even at a wet Spa, they were all very well behaved on the first lap. But do you think now, coming to the end of the season, people wanting to make up places, get those extra points, are we going to see some desperation creep in?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. You're going to see some folks, because we read out the championship points. You know where everybody stands. There are 4 ties in the championship standings, and that weighs heavy on you near the end of the season. Doesn't matter if you're fighting for 15th or first. You want as much as you possibly can get. I don't think you're going to see anything too crazy. I am amazed at how well these drivers have held it all season. I'm amazed at how many of them we still have. A rarity in sim racing to see this many drivers near the end of the season still taking part. The green flag flies down, and Wolf Matuszka gets an excellent start on the outside. Gaspar holds the inside. Nobody else even remotely close. Matuszka out dragging Gaspar to turn one. Gaspar still there, but Matuszka's got it done somehow. A little bit of contact there, perhaps, and all of a sudden, Wolf Matuszka leads Gaspar, but Gaspar might have a rebuke here, might have a chance to go around the outside, looking for the move, can't find it. Side by side for third place, Scott and Terry's side by side still in turn 2 and 3 as they finally settle it out as Terry's gets the spot from Scott.
Yeah, that was really well done. Wolf Matuszka got the launch and then just came over, very, very gently squeezed Gaspar there just to say, hey, I'm here, you better not, come over on me. And then I think just into the braking zone, just turned it a little bit, put the frighteners on Gaspar. Gaspar seemed to sort of get on the brakes and get out of it. And yeah, Wolf Matuszka was through. Very nice bit of driving there. Maybe you could call it a little bit aggressive, but it was extremely fair. No harm, no foul there.
Well, I think because I'm pretty sure there was contact. I have been fooled before by the live pictures, but I think the stewards will take a look at that. But I am pretty sure they're going to agree with you, Nate. I don't think they're going to say anything about that very minor contact. It's not like Wolf Matuszka hit his brakes on a straightaway or anything, so I don't think it will pose any sort of problem.
Yeah, we won't go there tonight. Hey, Jesse, we'll save that till me and you are off air and we can debate long into the night about that one. But here we go, coming around the penultimate corner here. Oh, no, I'm wrong, idiot. But all the drivers pointing the right way, yellow flags, and we're about to complete the first racing lap.
Well, the great thing for Gaspar here is he hasn't fallen off the back of Matuszka nearly at all. And the other problem, though, is Terry's has had a little bit of pace here. Not only did he get by Scott there in the first few corners, he's actually gained on these leaders just a little bit. And there you see Gaspar taking a little look. He was too far back to do anything, but he's just filling up Matuszka's mirrors. He's trying to get inside his head here. I think it's going to be a duel today because I don't think Matuszka's going anywhere.
No, it doesn't seem that way. And we've got some early pit stops here now. Was there just a little bit of contact? I didn't see any yellow flags come out for the first lap, but maybe they're trying to go for the early stop and the free air sort of strategy where you don't fight anyone, you don't lose time fighting anyone. So you just go around, you pump in your best laps, and you see where the cards fall at the end of the race.
Well, that's interesting because his nearest competitor, Naring, did not come in, and Boardman, of course, did come in there, and that could be a battle decided in the final moments of this race. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what Boardman and the rest of them are doing, Rasser and Malik have done. They don't want to be in the field. Again, we have a massive field here very late into the season, and again, the difference between finishing first and 21st in this race is a boatload of points. You barely get any for finishing that far down the field. Get yourself out of trouble, get some clean air, run some quali laps, see where it comes. The other side of that, though, is the problem as Ethan Scott's getting swamped here by Klaus Nyring trying to come around the fourth place car, and in fact lost my place there for a minute as Klaus does get that spot away and moves up into the fourth place position. But like I was saying, Nate, the only bad part about coming in this early is, of course, now you're going to be going out there, you're not going to give your brakes or anything a rest, and sometimes that you do that if you come in the middle of a segment. You do cool everything off momentarily, but no rest for the Wicked here.
I think the problem with coming in the middle, though, is you heat cycle the tires, and then you can't quite get the temperature back into them. So, granted, there will be heat in the tires from, obviously, the first racing lap, but it won't be as bad as, obviously, pumping, 10, 11, 15 laps through them, and then having them cool down in a pit stop. So, it's arguably a different strategy. We see a race replay of the start here. Oh,
We're going to see some minor contact. Boardman did get a little bit. I'm not sure what car that was on the inside, but got a little bit of a door ding there. But it wasn't too much. I wouldn't even probably hit for that if that was me. But did something else happen to Boardman here in the chicane? Oh, a little argy-bargy, but still nothing major there. See some scrapes on the right side of the car. And no, I just think you're right. I think he just wanted out of traffic.
It seemed that way, but it seems like he's got the jump on Mikael Sundstrom, which, well, if he did stop early to get out of traffic, it's not worked for him because now he's got Sundstrom all over his rear wing. They're going to be fighting each other to in the middle of nowhere. So they're just going to be slowing each other down unless they've got the secret strategy. Boardman says, "Follow me." Sunstrom says, "Okay," and they'll just tail each other all the way up into the pack. And then once the sort of the pit stops play out, they'll start battling each other. But the move we saw one lap ago, Klaus Nearing on Ethan Scott there, I think that was crucial for Nearing because he was faster and Scott was starting to fall off the back of the top three. As you can see now, granted, there's not a huge gap there, but the gap between Nearing and Scott is bigger than the gap between Nearing and Terres there, as Nearing all over the back of Terres through the last corner there. So I think these four may break away from the pack, and we'll see them in their own little cluster, each, well, fighting for first place ultimately.
Kazama Terry's here trying to stay in front, but gets a little loose there. That could be his downfall. He's going to try and protect the inside, goes back to the outside. Will Klaus try to make the overtake? He's going to go the long way around, dime in the corner a little bit, try to get a run on this little straightaway, but doesn't quite get it done as Terry's pulls away ever so slightly. But I think right now Klaus Nearing is probably just about the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, I'd say you're right, Jesse. I mean, he's got the purple lap, the fastest lap, and it just seems like every time the camera angle changes, it's Nearing all over the back of Terres. As you see Jordan Daly lining up a move there on Nico Kumpu, but not quite getting it off there. I'm sure he'll
Jordan Daly
be itching to get past. Carry on, Jesse.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jordan Daly will always make an attempt, and even if he's not going to stay in there, he will make an attempt to let him know that I am not willing to sit behind you. The only time I've ever seen Jordan Daly sit behind somebody in a race was because he had damage and couldn't physically pass them. So if you are Kumpu, you kind of have to know that and kind of be able to determine which one's a fake move and which one's the real one.
Yeah, and it's not always so easy when you're trying to focus on keeping your car on the track as well as keeping the car behind you. Well, behind you. So, yeah, it's very easy to just to have a quick glance in your mirror, check what the car behind you is doing, and then completely lose your position on track. But, well, for me it is. I doubt these guys. They're far more experienced, far more professional than I am. As we see, is that Bart Matcher in the pits? It is.
Barmacha coming into the pit lane, favoring the early pit stop here, and the undercut. Speaking under, Klaus Nearing also under Ethan Scott here, trying to get this place taken, and can't quite do it.
Nearing.
Oh no, you're right. He had already made this pass. What's happened to Klaus Nearing now? Oh, contact there. Is that into the chicane? You bet it is.
And then, yeah, Ethan Scott says, "Thank you very much. I'll waddle on through here." And now Nearing with it all to do all over again.
I was just thinking, I was like, wait, didn't we just see this pass? And I very quickly realized that wasn't a replay, but excellently caught by Jake the Bosmeister Boswell there. That's exactly what happened, just going off the track. Oh, a little bit on the overlap, but almost sideways is Klaus Nearing as he gets that place back. That car just does not look safe.
No, the back end very, very twitchy, but I mean, I guess having this loose setup is what's allowing him to go fast. He's, right on the edge of it there. We're pretty much dancing this car through the corners, but I suppose the problem is when he has a moment tucked up behind another car, I'm guessing he's running quite low aero on that. And then obviously being behind another car, you lose even more. So he's got to really sort of pick his battles there and try not to shove it into the back end of another car into the chicane.
Well, there's that old saying, Nate, loose is fast, but the other half of that saying is not nearly as good. It's loose is fast, but it's very terrifying.
Yep, agreed. I'd much rather have a slow and a stable car than a quick and loose one. But again, Jesse, that's why me and you are here, and these 22 drivers are out there on the track.
I'll take stable every day of the week. I was told earlier by Tom Watts that Van Kampen had a DNS today due to a hardware failure. Apparently his pedals were not acting correctly, and they've had to withdraw from this race. Van Kampen DNS due to hardware malfunction.
That's never fun, is it? And I bet you, after this race started, they started working again. That's always how it goes.
I've had similar issues with sensors not working and then all of a sudden working. It's always a weak connection or one that when you wiggle a wire, it fixes itself. It's always seems to be the case. And for Van Campen, I think we can all commiserate exactly what he's going through. Can't commiserate Wolf Matushka because there's nothing to commiserate. Man has been unflappable this season, despite many opportunities afforded for failure. He has risen to the occasion on all of them, including today, as finally a little bit of daylight between Gaspar and himself has started to form. More than a second, the biggest gap it's been so far. Now, I ask you this, Nate: can Gaspar do anything in maybe a pit stop, pit early, try the undercut, do anything to try and get by Wolf here, or is it pretty much curtains at this point already?
Well, we don't know. We got a yellow flag at the start of Sector 2 there. That's the fast left-hander at the top of the hill. Obviously far away from these
That's
drivers.
Sundstrom.
Oh, it is Mikhail Sundstrom. Oh, what a shame. Oh,
Oh,
that's
just
an interesting
lost
way to
it
go
there.
off.
Well,
Didn't
you
touch the wall,
saw,
though.
didn't touch anything, but that ruined the tires. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, well done for waiting as well, waiting for the safe rejoin. But,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course, we haven't said anything, but live stewarding a course on the Monday Porsche Championship. They haven't had a lot to look at, but I know they are looking at a couple of things now. But again, that's the knowing the rules right there for Mikhail Sundstrom, knowing that if he rejoins unsafely, it's going to be a problem. Joseph Vargas hit the wall. That's in the final turn. Oh
Ooh!
no!
Oh,
Oh no!
no!
Contact with another car. And oh, other cars coming through. Joseph Varga just in a really bad spot. Blind corner. You can't see through there, Nate.
Oh, that was unfortunate. I think the first two cars did very well to avoid him. The second, well, yeah, the third car was just an unfortunate passenger. And yeah, the fourth car just sort of skirted off the barriers there, which is quite entertaining to watch. But yeah, see, two quite opposite instances there. Obviously, we saw Mikhail Sundstrom waiting patiently, obviously, despite his obviously inner instinct to want to get back on the track and carry on racing. And then unfortunately, we just see Varga there maybe being a little bit too eager to get back on it and get back into the race. And unfortunately, just, well, drove clean into another car.
The other problem with that is there would have been a waved yellow in that corner, but the problem is it's a blind hairpin. So even if the yellow was waving, which it was, it's not telling you where the car is on the racetrack. So every car coming through there has to guess. They can't see over the Armco that separates the racetrack from pit lane. So they wouldn't have been able to see him until they got up on him. A couple of contacts there. One you could argue was due to him moving. The other one I feel was almost inevitable regardless. But even still, a very frustrating moment for Varga and everybody else in that sector. Now, we've seen two cars spin. How many more are going to have to suffer the same fate? 32 degrees C, getting a little warm.
Yeah, I think Turn 4 will definitely claim more victims before the end of this race. Potentially even Turn 3. I mean, I've had two instances at Turn 3 in the same race before, and I promptly parked it after the second one. But yeah, Turn 4 absolutely we'll definitely see more carnage there. But other than that, I think, well, the drivers have all been fairly well behaved. We've not really seen any particularly bad incidents, so you know, fingers crossed we get some more clean racing, Jesse.
Well, one thing that's not always a big problem in the Porsche Cup is, of course, track limits. It's only an hour race. You get 3 of them before you get a penalty. But today at this track that has, I think we would call it famously unfair track limits on some of the corners. They are a bit baffling some of the time. And of course, just missing the corner like earlier we saw, was that Klaus that missed the corner. They would have undoubtedly had a track limit warning just for doing that. And it is very interesting as we go further into this race to see if drive-through penalties become a thing. Contact here, Nico Kumpu and Sarka. Oh, and
he's
Nico
round.
Kumpu's around.
Well, he keeps out the barrier though, keeps the engine running. So let's just see what happened here. It seemed like the Kumpu goes to the inside to defend, drifts over, and so they both sort of merge in the middle of the track. Then Kumpu, eager to scamper away from the scene of the crime, puts his foot down a little bit too eagerly and spins it almost into the wall. But that's sort of not what you want to be doing there. You want to try and keep your nose clean. Obviously, you know, keep it on the black stuff.
Well, the topic of the day were tire pressures, and I think a lot of people with the heat are having to deal with that. And I think add that to the natural way that the Porsche Cup car drives, I think you're going to see a lot more of that coming today. And of course, we welcome in the stewards for the very first time, live stewarding here. The only incident that's come through is an incident on lap 2, turn 9, involving the 18 and the 404, deemed a racing incident, small contact, no further action needed.
I have a feeling those stewards will definitely be looking at that incident between Nico Kumpu. There's no reason why not. As we see, was that contact? That looked close. That looked really, really close, but I'm not sure if that was contact or not. It must have been because he shot across the chicane, but it didn't look particularly heavy.
Nah, it's just getting touched in a braking zone like that. It definitely de-wedged Lima's car, and I think it sent him just a little bit. Nothing you can't drive away from, but still, I think a little contact there with the defensive driving that Paolo was doing, and it sent him through the chicane. No harm, no foul, really. But stewards will definitely take a look at that because that will have shown up for them as bumper to bumper right there. But we go oh, that, excuse me, that was exactly what we just called out. That was the 18 and the 404, actually, I'm being told. So yeah, they did investigate that and found in favor of what we sort of assumed it would be. No further action. Meanwhile, Klaus here trying to scamper away and catch Terry's and back in the field. Bard Macha, who is the leader of all the cars that have pitted, got in front of Boardman. Couple of more penalties that have come through, or lack thereof in some cases. A warning for the 889 for hitting the 23 into the rear. 5-second penalty for car 221 for spinning,
incident.
stopping for some cars, and then accelerating into the 48. Well spotted, Nate. No further action between the 555 and the 221 for small contact. And that is all we have.
So, yeah, I'm quite surprised actually that it was only a 5-second penalty. I thought the stewards would take quite a dim view on that, the hairpin incident with between the 48 and, well, the 221, I suppose. That was the main sort of point of contact there between those two cars. But I'm also quite surprised as we see it here. So 221 spins, yeah, as you mentioned, Jesse, completely blind. And then he goes for the throttle, just pins him against the wall. Really unfortunate. And we see... It's not funny, we shouldn't laugh, because that's probably a lot of damage on that car, but it's just quite a comical way it happened. But, yeah, just was he too eager to get back into the race, I suppose? Obviously, again, it's a blind corner. They couldn't see him, he couldn't see them. You could argue as well, but sort of have to pick your battles, I suppose, and that wasn't the one to fight.
Yeah, I'm curious what the stewards would have thought if he hit reverse and reversed, you know, back up the track. I wonder if that would have been a bigger penalty, but because he was already near enough to the wall, they deemed it to be a lesser sort of infraction because he did a lot of the things right. And again, he can't tell where the other cars are. Contact here between Terry's and Klaus, as this could get very interesting as Terry's gets in front, but just by a little bit. Klaus was not backing out of that. So luckily the 889 was able to get back in front. That could have ended ugly.
Yeah, that was definitely sort of some argy-bargy coming through here, but I think the order just sort of reset itself. I don't think anyone particularly got away with position gain. As you see, Jeebus nearing practically sideways through the chicane. Here's a replay of that. So what happens here? Does he just catch the curb? Yeah, catches the sausage curb on the inside, catches the other one, and just really unsettles the car, but well held, but time lost, unfortunately, for Klaus Nearing.
Curb plus Porsche plus acceleration equals spin. An excellent catch, like you said, and that resets all of Nearing's progress he had on the 889, as he will have to re-catch the third place car. The gap up front not nearly as big as it could be. Gaspar doing an excellent job keeping Wolf Matushka in his sights. Less than 2 seconds, 1.8. The gap between first and second, and of course, That was the battle for third that we just saw. How about the battle for ninth place? Lubomir Zeman and Nico Kumpu battling for this spot.
I've got a feeling that the well, second, third, and fourth will be a battle we'll see all race long, and well, Kumpu sort of been in the mix a little bit. Obviously, unfortunately, had that little bit of a spin earlier with what was it, the 818, and now sort of well, essentially on a recovery drive that was really close, but well, Kumpu looks like he's got the move done. He's going to have the inside for this corner if he can just brave it out. Yeah, covers off the middle of the corner there to not allow Zeman to get a run through into turn 3, and away he goes. So nice bit of driving between the pair of them, contact avoided, and yeah, Kumpu scout is well. He's going to now attempt to scamper off up the road.
He's definitely going to try and do that. It's been a tough start for Nico, but now inside the top 10 and trending in the right direction at the very least, up into ninth place after a couple of close calls, and is not too far at all away from Paulo Lima. Nico Kumpu, that'll be the next car that he will be tasked with passing. And we were talking about Klaus Niering being the quickest car on the racetrack. Well, that is intermittently true. He's swapping the quickest lap with Wolf Matuszka. Matuszka had it for a few laps, and now the 23 has it back.
Also, I'm being told off for incorrectly pronouncing Niering's last name. I probably still did it wrong. I'm an idiot. Niering? I'm being told Niering in my ear.
I'm not going to throw this particular individual under the bus, but he gave me a example that made absolutely no sense in English. So I'm going to. I needed that in English, not whatever language that is. I do apologize to the driver of the 23, as we are American and we very often get names wrong regardless. So we do apologize. So it's Niring. Oh, John Arasser, contact there. Who was the other car?
That was Bart Matcher, was it not?
Was that Kumpu? That looked like a 6. Looked like a 6. Oh, so that's why we can't find the car, because it was Malik.
Wow, that was a little bit argy-bargy again. Jesse, how do you read that one? I see it as one driver had sort of half a nose up the inside. Other driver didn't really want to release the place racing incident.
I don't know, man. I'd have to see that again. That happened way too quick for my brain.
Oh, well, there you go.
Jake Bosmeister Boswell.
Just like
look
movie
at this
magic.
Man. This beautiful man. So look at this. I just feel like the car on the outside just tried to cut back in whenever John was there, honestly.
Well, they both carried on, but then, unfortunately, I guess, mechanical damage, both of them have retired from the race.
Yeah, Mohamed Malik there in the 8. That's why I thought it was the 6 of Nico Kumpu, because the 8 and the 6 look incredibly similar to one another, and I could only see it very briefly. So the 8 car of Malik has retired from the race after that heavy contact, but even so, the stewards will take a look at that as Subban has had a rough day, and it's going to continue here with the damaged 48 car, and luckily spun into a open area of the track.
Oh, that advertising
the racing
board.
surface.
That was right in the way. I really wanted to see what happened on the exit of that corner. We couldn't see. We were just advertisement in the way, but it seems that who's that? Matthew Kingston Lee in the 555. Yep, has just held a position, but we've got Varga coming up the inside again. This battle is far from done. We've got Andy Boardman in the back there, along with Bart Matcher, also trying to get in on the action. Obviously, Bart Matcher and Andy Boardman have pitted. Kingston Lee and Varga have not, so they're a little bit out of position there. So this isn't really their fight, but we've got two separate battles happening here, essentially. We've got Kingston Lee versus Varga, and then Matcher versus Boardman, but they're all tripping over each other and getting in each other's way.
Well, they don't know this, but half these cars are the cars that have showed up in the penalty reports thus far. And a lot of it deemed racing incident, but I'd be very careful. A lot of fighty drivers in this particular pack. So you know none of these are going to back down in any way. And Barmacha is just trying to, get positions back. Varga, who already has the penalty, is of no consequence anyway. Andy Boardman trying to get through as well, trying to keep up with Macha, and just behind him is that Kingston Lee. I think it is Kingston Lee who's trying to actually get a position in earnest away from Varga as well. But Boardman, for the time being, clears and will set their sights back on Bart Macha for effectively the lead of the cars that have pitted. And of course, it's always a good feeling when you're the lead of the cars that have pitted, because you're the one that will gain the most when everybody else pits.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. Was Boardman ever ahead of Matcher at any point in that? I've just had complete brain fade. Because if so, then obviously Boardman is arguably the big loser out of this whole incident. Because, well, they were nose to tail at the start of the lap. There's now, a second between the two of them. So that's not worked particularly well for Boardman there.
Yeah, and it's also hard to tell too, because Boardman came in at the end of the first lap or so. So if he was racing against Macha at some point at the beginning, it was only very brief, but they're very close still, although be it about a second apart now after having to clear some of the, I would call it lap traffic. It's not lap traffic, it's cars that haven't pitted yet. And here is Terry's in the 889, who, credit to him, has been able to keep, and I'm going to try this again, folks, for the benefit of all of you at home, Klaus Nyring in the 23. There you go. I do apologize. I am American. We don't do languages very well, not even English here, so we do apologize. But Klaus Nyring is still trying to get this space, and I feel Klaus feels like he should have had this done a long time ago. Is going to force the issue here, and it's going to get a little side-by-side, a little argy-bargy. They're side-by-side for third. Terry's just going to have the run off the corner, and it's going to be forfeit for Nyring here, as he's going to have to reset again, but at least this time he's not a second behind. He's right behind him. Could we see a move down into one?
Well, potentially, yeah, but it seemed like nearing. Oh, I give up. It seems like the 23 car. There we go. That's all you get. The 23 car. Well, I mean, didn't have the best exit there coming out of the first hairpin, and that's what allowed Terrace to sort of disappear off into the second hairpin. But like you said, gonna have to reset now and do it all over again.
Our broadcaster just made the best joke of the day, and it's a joke we make every single time we come here, and it's never less funny. Jake Boswell mentioned to us privately that some of these advertising boards are really good at being advertising boards. I 100% agree. They're annoying to us because they restrict our view, but man, they're getting a lot of product placement.
Yeah, I mean, they're really advertising Assetto Corsa Competizione. I mean, if anyone's ever played that game, let me know. It seems pretty good.
Back to the racing action. Terry still holding on to the position, but only just as now lap traffic getting out of the way. And these two continuing to fight for what is effectively the third place position. You gotta like Nyring's chances here. If he can get through into third, could he potentially catch Gasper? Could he potentially catch Wolf? We'll have to see. But job number one is proving tough enough.
Track limit drive through.
Getting into third. And there it is, almost on cue.
So, well, that's gonna mix it up a bit. As you mentioned, Jesse, some of the track limits on this game seem particularly harsh, and, well, as we see, unfortunately for Terres there, the 889 just ran afoul one too many times.
I do apologize. It was actually Tom Bryant who made that signage board joke. It was just his name's the same color as our broadcaster, Jake the Bosmeister Boswell, so I got that mistake, so I do apologize for that. What I won't apologize for is racing incident between the 818 and the 6. Both deemed at fault for the contact. No major implications therein. Take a look at it right here.
Seems like they just sort of merged in the middle of the track there, and then, yeah, as mentioned previously, Kumpu trying to scamper away from his crimes, just a little bit heavy-footed, and unfortunately drops it in across the track onto the grass.
I've got a report here, and I've only ever seen this report one other time in history. In fact, Glenn Wright, who's handing me the papers today, was very sure about this one, but bear with me here. A warning for car number 8, who has left the race, not being fully aware of surroundings. And I think that has something to do with the earlier contact we saw.
Yeah, so that was John Eraser. This move here, as we see it, Boswell got our backs. Just sort of, it was a clumsy move from, well, you could argue Mohamed Malik. I would argue John Eraser had, no business sort of sticking his nose there. But ultimately, stewards have made their call, warning for car 8. And yeah, unfortunately, they both left the race, so it's almost a little bit meaningless. As we see someone with a stop-go 30, Jesse. Is that for speeding in the pits?
Yeah, that's going to be speed in the pits, Nate. It's not showing up on my report, but I can tell you what is racing incident between the 23 and the 889. That's the most recent incident involving them. They had a previous contact on lap 4. This is for lap 11, but just a racing incident for minor contact, and a racing incident between the 221 and the 555 on lap 15. 555 attempts an overtake from and makes contact with the 221, and that is, I think, what we're going to see here.
Doink. That could have been so much worse for the 555 there. He could have easily have slid straight into the beginning of the pit lane there.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse than it was, but the stewards getting a little bit of a workout today and confirming that 48 must have been for a pit road speed infringement. One of the many updates in 1.8 is you have to be at pit road speed when you hit the line. It used to be that you could be over the speed as long as you were on the limiter and got down to the speed. That's no longer the case. You have to be at the pit speed at the line, which makes a lot of sense to me. But some of the drivers, it's been 2 years, Nate, of them doing it the other way, and sometimes it takes a little while for you to get that in your head.
Yeah, it's sort of old habits die hard, the old sort of muscle memory, sort of knowing you can get away with it a little bit later than it should be allowed. So yeah, like you said, I imagine a few of them will be stuck in their ways and it will bite them. But that's good in a sense. I mean, it's always fun to see, where you can gain an advantage, be it a big one or a small one. But at the same time, gotta respect pit lane speed limits.
Do you remember earlier when I said that was the most recent incident between the 889 and the 23? I lied about that. Lap 15, racing incident between the 889 and the 23 for making minor contact. As we continue to see more and more minor contact, eventually it's no longer going to be minor contact, Nate.
Oh, so what I thought was the 23 getting a bit squirrely was actually the 23 letting Teres back through for the contact into the corner. Obviously recognizing it was a bit of an aggressive overtake, or an overtake with contact, whichever way you want to label it, and quite smartly, before the stewards sort of getting involved, just had a quick word with the race director. They made a deal, and he gave the position back.
Well, of course, giving the position back is not guaranteed, but it often comes with a lesser penalty if you go ahead and sort yourselves out by yourself. And it's not always the case. It's not a written rule, so to speak, but it is good manners, and often the stewarding team will, in fact, give you a lesser penalty, or in some cases, none at all, if it all shakes out back the way it was, even after contact. Miguel Martins in chat says, amazing that these drivers are fighting this hard in a car with no assist. And I agree, Miguel, 110%. I can't do this. And it takes a lot to do this kind of racing. These, of course, are pros. Mini splits live tonight from pro all the way down to AM. Of course, we stream the top split, as you might come to expect. And these guys are the best of the best, the fastest of the fastest in this car. But even still, with all the contact and all that, they're still going at it. I'd be very timid if I was in the car tonight, but these guys, nope, absolutely no way. It's fender to fender tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's why we enjoy sort of seeing it so much. Is obviously, as we've mentioned, no traction control in these cars. I forget, do the Cup cars don't have ABS, do they, Jesse?
I don't
Uh,
think so.
someone will correct me if whatever I say. Oh, there we go. So they've got ABS, no traction, Jesse. As I just suddenly
Oh.
remembered. Wow, imagine that. Definitely wasn't told.
Hmm.
But yeah, so no traction. It's I mean, as you and I and everyone watching and the drivers will be very aware, even driving some of these cars with traction on can be a handful. So especially the Porsches being so tail happy, um, very easy to just get a little bit sideways in a corner, especially some of the fast corners of this track. Be very easy to lose the back end, and sometimes, not always, the traction can sort of keep you on the straight and narrow. But yeah, in these, you've got no hope. And like I said, it's fantastic to watch them. I mean, flying around this track, going far quicker than I ever could, even in a car with all the assists. And yeah, just keeping it on the black stuff.
That brings up a good point. I was unaware of that. I don't drive the Porsche Cup car, but does that mean the Maserati? Is there any other car in ACC other than the Maserati that doesn't have ABS?
It's the writer, is it? If I'm remembering, I feel like that doesn't. But again, I could be
Hmm.
wrong. If the little voice in my ear wants to help me out.
Well, if you if you know in chat if there's any car other than the Maserati in ACC that doesn't have ABS, let us know in chat. We'd quite like to know. I generally stick to GT3s and GT4s, and I leave the professional driving to the professionals. Less than halfway to go, 23 minutes, and just 9:45 a.m. in sim time here at Hungaroring, and Wolf Matuszka took the lead into turn one and hasn't really looked back. An early charge from Gaspar has led to a 4.7-second lead for the Pink Performance 25 driver. And back in the pack, though, it has been very fast and furious and a lot of fender benders going on. And no fender benders here between Carlson and Terry's, but it has been close, all things considered, as Terry's does get that position back in the 889 and continues to march back to the front of the field.
So Jesse, we've had some input. It is only the Maserati that doesn't have ABS. Every other car in the game does.
Hmm. I will tell you, Billy Octane and Wolf Matuszka have both driven that Maserati, and talking to them post race, it takes a lot out of you. You forget how the amenities of just any car, how sort of spoiled we all are. I've had to drive cars without power steering before. It's an absolute workout. It's the same thing with ABS and no traction control. You got to be even more perfect than you already would be because there's nothing electronic helping you, and it definitely takes a lot out of you. And thank goodness these Cup cars do have ABS, because can you imagine if they actually didn't?
I mean, I think it would make this event much more interesting, purely from the
Dangerous is
standpoint
the
of
word you're looking for,
yeah,
Nate. It
well,
would make it more dangerous.
exciting crashes and accidents. That's what everyone wants to see, isn't it? That's all people seem to be interested in this day. It doesn't matter if it's a good race, if no one crashes, boring. Um, so yeah,
Wow.
turn the ABS off, turn the traction off, take the wings off it. Just send them out with 1 million horsepower on skinny little moped tires, on scooter tires, and just let the best man win.
Nate's describing racing in the 80s. He was born in the wrong decade, I'm afraid to tell you all.
We've got a yellow flag out at the top of the track there for car number 6. That's Nico
Is that
Kumpu.
Nico Kumpu? He's gone off.
Oh, very off.
So as he spun it by himself, there's no one around him. And has he just gassed it up a little bit too much? Is this a curb incident? Let's find out.
Oh,
Uh,
so he's into the barrier?
oh,
Yes, hard into the barrier. So there we go. Turn 4 claims its second victim. Just that little slide, and then the wipers go in. Gotta see where you're going after an accident, of course. But yeah, the little slide, he caught it, corrected it, and then it snapped back on him. And unfortunately, yeah, that was it. It just let go on him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We've seen a lot of that today. I don't think we're done with that either. It's just a unfortunate circumstance of getting loose. These pros make it look so easy, but it's not. I implore all of you, if you've not driven this car after the race tonight, go ahead and fire up ACC and try to drive these cars at speed around here. It is frightening, and they've somehow managed to tame these cars. I'm curious about the gap here. Matushka now is pulling away time hand over fist to the 81. Why do you think that is?
Well, maybe Gega Gaspar in his attempt to sort of, well, to start with, well, it wasn't even started because I mean Wolf Matushka got past him on the first lap. To stick with Wolf Matushka may have just been overdriving the car and he's just eating his tires up, and now he's really paying the price for it. Could be that Wolf Matushka got the move done and then just sort of, well, sort of rolled in at his own pace. Obviously, Gaspar quicker in qualifying, but maybe didn't have the car set up for the race. Again, on the flip side, maybe Wolf Matushka had the car set up for the race and was happy to sacrifice some time in qualifying. I mean, questions without answers at the moment, Jesse. But again, I would say it's down to the tyres. We'll have to ask the drivers after the race, and we'll talk about it next time out. But yeah, Wolf Matushka just doing Wolf Matushka things, I suppose, is the other answer you could give. Just pure magic.
Well, I do believe Nyring is catching Gaspar for second place. The question, will he really get there as the gap continues to expand out front? Wolf Matushka currently has the quickest lap. I told you that they were going back and forth, Matushka and Nyring, and that still is the case. Wolf winning that battle right now, as Nyring is 2.5 seconds behind Gaspar for second. Of course, that battle between him and the Terry's car was sort of put on pause after the 889 got a penalty, and well, that pretty much put a damper on Terry's day. No additional penalties have come through in a little while. We talked about the 3 different reports between the 23 and the 889. That, of course, as I just mentioned, has gone away, and everybody is just sort of racing on their own right now. Nobody really particularly close to anyone else. Just about half the field has pitted, half the field hasn't pitted to this point. And if you are the leader, Wolf, I'm pretty sure you're waiting for the last possible second.
Yeah, Wolf has a habit of doing this. Literally, I think Brands last week was in the pit lane as it closed. Like, no seconds spared. Like, it was calculated to, I'd say, the millisecond that he pulled that one off. But yeah, normally the top sort of 4 tend to wait for the last lap and then just roll into the pit lane. Obviously, unfortunately, who was it that we saw? I forgot. Terrace, that was it, the 889. Unfortunately, had a drive-through, so he's out of position, had to obviously serve that penalty. So I imagine, well, he could attempt to stop early to undercut everyone else and see where that leaves him. But so far, the big winners at the moment, Jesse, from pit stops, is looking like Bart Matcher and Andy Boardman with their early stops.
I think you are absolutely correct. Bart Macha and Andy Boardman have just about had the right call. Boardman never got back to Bart Macha and has actually fallen off by another second in the last 10 minutes as Macha stands to gain a lot of time. How much he'll gain, we'll just have to see. Could be a top 5 for Bart Macha. We're going to have to see how it shakes out. And this is a man that I was curious about earlier. Haven't seen a lot from Carlos Caladian here in this race, and I was wondering why. Well, I think you can all see it at home why.
Yeah, his car's trying to talk to us, mouth open. Maybe just hungry for more air, but obviously been in the wall hard somewhere, and well, yeah, a lot of front end damage on that car.
It's a lonely feeling, folks, I can assure you that. Driving around aimlessly with a damaged car, or even if that damage isn't actually present on that car and it's just a graphical glitch, they would have been damaged at some point, so that does still explain why they are quite far back. Is that Lindgren behind? It is Lindgren in the 49 behind. This will be a battle for 14th whenever they get there.
I'm curious to see, Jesse, how many cars Wolf Matushka is going to lap before the end of this, because I mean, Wolf Matushka is only a couple corners down the road from these two, and this is 15th and 14th. So we'll have to. I reckon he could potentially catch up to what's the 48 car? That seems a bit out of position. Is that the 48 or the 49 just ahead of them? Where am I? I'm off on my own little tangent here.
Well, Lindgren is right behind Kaladian, and Sumanen is
no
20th.
Who is
would
the
make
car?
more sense if it was the 48.
Going. Tune in, folks, while two old men try and figure out which cars are on the track. Oh no, it's the 48. It's the 48. Just unfortunately a little bit out of position.
Yes. Well, yeah, Sumanen has had a pretty awful race by all accounts, but maybe Spirit of the Race Award to the 48, sticking with it. Has had a rough day at the office, but continuing to plow through and likely to finish the race, albeit battle-scarred. As the battle for second place hotting up just a little bit. I talked about it being 2 seconds, nearly 3 a few laps ago. Well, that's no longer the case. Nyring has all but eliminated that gap to Gaspar in second place. The battle for second clearly on now.
Well, I think Nyring's being the faster car, barring Wolf Matushka. But out of this sort of pack between sort of Gaspar, Scott, and Terez, definitely been, well, obviously a couple of hard-fought battles with Terez there. A little bit of bumping and grinding to get past, which was fantastic to watch. So hats off to those two for keeping them pointed in the right direction. Sadly, Terez did get his drive-through penalty for track limits, and it took himself out of the equation. But yeah, obviously Nyring, as you mentioned earlier, Jesse, was trading fastest lap. Currently doesn't have it, but I'm sure if he could find a way past Gegli Gaspar, he'll do exactly that.
Well, Nyring wants this place because obviously it's more points. Nyring fighting for a second place in the championship position, right? So could be a big day. We can only guess where Boardman will shake out. As Boardman, by the way, I told you that gap was 2 seconds between Macha and Boardman. Macha must have had a bad lap or a little bit of a mistake, because Boardman is not that far behind him. Matter of fact, there is Bart Macha in the silver, black, and gold car, and Boardman in the very colorful 69, nice, and catching up to Bart Macha in front. So something must have happened to Macha at some point.
You did not just say 69, nice.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh dear, no one is safe.
It's been that kind of race. We showed some of our proprietary applications on stream. We've mispronounced and offended many nationalities with our terrible English pronunciations, and I stuck a 69 in there.
I'm gonna message some of the drivers and just apologize for butchering their names. As we see, was that
I just do it live on air.
Nyring? Yeah, Nyring. We're just gonna do it wrong on purpose now, because it's no longer offensive. We're just idiots.
I mean, we were idiots before.
Klaus Nyring in the pits then, obviously taking his stop, maybe thinking he can't quite get past Gaspar, so he'll just go out in fresh air and pump in quicker laps than Gaspar and just, well, undercut him, I suppose. The long undercut.
So in chat, I think Miguel asked the question, who is going to blink last? Who is going to come down pit lane at the latest possible time? I don't see why it wouldn't be Wolf, as Nyring is in pit lane, as we said. I don't see why it wouldn't be Wolf. The only reason Wolf would come in earlier than he absolutely needed to is that if he did come up on a pack of lap cars and didn't want to get involved. Keep in mind, Wolf Matushka's biggest enemy in this race is himself at this point. You don't want to get in trouble battling back markers that don't pay you points or positions. So If Wolf gets in that spot, then yeah, he probably would come in. But I don't think he's going to come across a group that big. So if I had to guess, Wolf would probably be the last one in.
I reckon in about 8 minutes he'll pit Jesse. That is my
Ah,
professional
yeah,
opinion. If you wanted it, I don't know if you did, but
I did indeed.
yeah, like I said, Wolf was like quite literally the last driver in at the last second at Brands, and he was, the last to pit. Well, him and a group of cars all pitted on the same lap, or the last possible chance the race before. So I just think that's how he's going to run his race. He's got no real need to stop, other than potentially to avoid getting caught up in whatever is about to happen here. As Classiad sort of tries to close the door to squeeze off Lindgren, but doesn't quite manage it, but keeps the place. Again, more aggressive but fair racing, and it's making it interesting, Jesse, because we're not quite sure, well, where the moves are going to happen, as we see Lindgren getting out
Oh,
the way,
Wolf
but
with the
not quite.
sand and contact!
Oh, so it looked like Lindgren was trying to get out of the way to let Wolf through, but it looked like maybe Wolf was just a little bit late on the brakes and just, well, gives Lindgren a nice little kiss to say thanks for letting me pass, but it's
This
more like a
is it,
headbutt.
this is exactly what I was talking about. As the leader, your biggest enemy is yourself. You don't want to get involved with back markers here. And these two racing in front of him, it definitely looked like he was trying to get out of the way. And I don't know if they actually touched there or that was just a knee-jerk reaction from Lindgren there. I'm unsure, but
I
I'm
can't see
being
any
told,
scuff marks on the
yeah,
pink pig there.
it definitely looked like there was on the first camera, but in the second angle that Jake provided us there, I think that was just a knee-jerk reaction by Lindgren.
I mean, well played. Otherwise, they would have had contact. So well done to Lindgren for getting out of the way. Well, he had to get out of the way twice. There was obviously letting Matushka through, and then Matushka a little bit too deep, sort of almost rolled into the side of him, so had to get out of his way a second time, twice in one corner.
Well, Nyring, the leader of the cars that have come into pit lane, and quite interestingly, Macha is still second. I thought Carlson was going to end up being second, but the 134 had just come out of the pit lane, and it cycles through that he is further down the order. But for a second there, it looked like somebody had jumped Bart. But only Nyring now in the 23, as it's Nyring, Macha, Boardman, the top three of the cars that have pitted. You got Nordqvist in the middle between Nyring and Macha as well. And this man, Terry, he's already been down pit lane once today against his will. Still sideways there.
I mean, if you're not sideways, you're not having fun, I suppose. So obviously enjoying himself. But Jesse, I've got a feeling I've seen this one before. I've seen these cars in this position at some point before.
Oh dear, yeah, I think it's going to be round two between Terry's and Nyring, but only this time Nyring's completed his stop. He just wants to get around, but Terry's under no circumstances is deemed here to have to lay over for a car that has pitted. It's still a battle for position. So what will the 889 do here? Are they going to play nice or are they going to play tough?
I'd imagine they're going to play tough, given the amount of contact these two had before, but they're well, like you said, he doesn't have to get out of the way. This is, regardless if they've pitted, it's still for position. So I mean, yeah, I can't see why Perez would just sort of open the door after, like I said, the amount of contact they'd had before. I'd be a little bit heated. I mean, maybe they're friends off the track and they're sort of having a laugh about it, as we see, oh, there's a car that's had a very big off somewhere, hasn't it? Who was that?
Yeah, I believe that's
Varga.
yeah, that's Joseph Varga, and that's even more crash than the last time we saw it.
Oh, that's long before the. Well, this is long after the incident. Sorry, that's a car that's looking very, very sorry for itself.
You know, I do appreciate what Joseph's doing there, trying to stay off the track as much as possible. Knows they have damage, the car's still controllable, and attempting to stay off the track as much as possible. A wiggle there, another wiggle by Terry's there, going around the outside is Nyring. Nyring trying to get the spot, covering the spot is Terry's. This is the most entertaining battle against two cars. that in 5 minutes won't be racing each other that I've ever seen. Maybe a little bit of bad blood after all between the 889 and the 23. 23 looking to the outside, faking there, going down to the inside. Unimpressed as the 889 covering the inside into turn one.
Yeah, Terrors did a good job there. Just, well, he's sort of almost bought into the fake, the scent that Niring was going to do. Apologies. I'm going to apologize every time I say his name wrong now. Yeah, didn't quite buy into it, sort of realized what was happening, and then just hovered the inside off and sort of just very
Oh,
carefully.
that's
As we see
Varga
a car
again.
turn free.
Wait, no, that's not Varga. That wasn't Varga. Varga's in the pit lane.
That was the 1-2-1. Who was that? That was Zeman. Yeah, it's all
Lubomir
happening in
Zeman
the
off.
closing minutes.
Lubomir Zeman yet to pit all inside the top 10 though, spinning in the middle of the track there. Luckily, just off the racing line, and I got confused because Varga's in a red car. That's the 221. Lubomir Zeman's in a red car. That's the 121. You can see how that could get confusing. But
I think they
meanwhile,
may be
this battle.
teammates.
There you go. Well, the battle for fifth does continue, and Niring here will be getting just a bit frustrated by now.
Yeah, definitely. But I think Niring knows that he's not really going to be going anywhere. I suppose he could be losing time to Scott in the long run, actually. And Giggly Gaspar's in the pits as well. So
Gasper in the pit lane, the first of the top three to blink
here goes Terrors. So Terrors is pulling out the way. Oh, actually, is Gaspar out of the pit lane? Was he about to be jumped by Nearing? He's not. He's about to be jumped. So Nearing. Oh, so that was the battle, obviously, that he got out of earlier when they were sort of nose to tail, pitted earlier. Suggested he might be trying to do the undercut, and even in the traffic, it seems to have worked out well for him.
Klaus Niring's pit stop and his pace has jumped Gasper in the pit lane, and that's exactly what he wanted to do. He's going to have clear sailing here, but just how far behind Wolf Matushka will he be? He's going to need to be setting purple sectors throughout the end of this race. Can he do it? It's going to be about 10 seconds. That's what the gap should be, but we'll see just what it is. Wolf still yet to pit. Ethan Scott, second place, still yet to pit. Everybody else has pitted at this time. Nordquist, the most recent driver in and off of pit lane. Carlos Caladiad here in a battle with Lindgren here in the 49, this being for 14th place as they battle for the minor positions. Wolf Matushka, your leader, is in.
There we go. So obviously, yeah, he couldn't have gotten another lap. There was no way he was fitting another lap in. So again, last opportunity to stop. I imagine Ethan Scott will also be in, as we see Lindgren just throwing it to the inside, showing himself in the mirrors of Carlos Calatiad, saying, "I'm here." And, but unfortunately, Calatiad, knowing he's a bit too far back to make a move there.
Well, the 23, here is Niring. Niring coming around the hairpin, the final hairpin, but Wolf Matushka is already back onto the racetrack. It's not going to be close. Wolf Matushka still in the lead of this race, has led every lap, and will likely do so, barring some incredible last lap heroics here by anyone else, as Ethan Scott also coming out of the pit lane, but it would appear as if Niring is going to get by, and has already done, by quite some margin. Has anyone else gotten by? Yes, indeed, as Gaspar is in third place ahead of Ethan Scott. So your top three, Matushka, Niring, Gaspar, is how it's going to shake out here late. Wolf Matushka timed that pit stop as well as he possibly could have done and maintains the lead. Niring, though, talk about them jumping a car in pit lane, battling for fourth, battling for third, ends up with second there. An excellent race for the 23.
Yeah, so again, it was the undercut seemed to have worked really, really well here. We didn't see it be quite as strong at Brands Hatch last time out, but I mean, Bart Match and Andy Borman up in P5 and P6, and I'm pretty certain they did not start the race there.
It's been a great race for Macha and Boardman alike. Boardman, I don't think, qualified very well either, and up into sixth place. The undercut working excellent for the 69 and the 404. Meanwhile, battles still continue here. Nordqvist has caught Mikael Sundstrom, this for the 12th place position. Nordquist, one of the very late pitters. We'll see if this position will change hands. Battle for 12th here, looking up the inside. Nordquist can't quite get it done. Kaladian here still battering Lindgren for that position. And while all of that has been going on, it's going to be a perfect 5 for 5 for Wolf Matuszka. He's done it flag to flag. Didn't qualify on pole, didn't need it. Around the outside through turn 1, gets it done. Wolf Matuszka wins here at the Porsche Cup. And what a fantastic win. Number 5 on the season. He remains perfect.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on this battle. Obviously, Klatin with that fairly damaged front end, or the front end damage to his vehicle, excuse me, still holding Lingard off, as we see now. Carlson also holding off Zeman. It's all going off in the last lap. There's many battles to watch. I don't think anyone's going to be close enough to make a move, though, unless they get it really wrong in the last corner, which Carlos does and keeps it collected, comes home in P9, Zeman in P10, but we still have this battle. They have 2 more turns to go, and I got a feeling Lingard is going to take this all the way to the line.
Carlos Kaladian here trying to maintain 14th place, and he crashes! Kaladian crashes! Lindgren's gonna go through! They're gonna take 14th place in the last possible turn! Happy birthday, Christian Lindgren!
Oh, what a shame. Klatia did so well to hold back Lingard with the damage he had, and then unfortunately one corner from home, and he had an unfortunate accident. What a shame. He will be very angry with himself about that one, Jesse.
He sure will. Results confirmed. Wolf Matuszka wins a 5th in a row. Nyring 2nd. Gaspar are your podium place finishers. Scott Macha, the top 5. Sarka, Boardman, Terry's, Carlson, Zeman, the top 10 here today. And it is my pleasure to officially say Wolf Matuszka is your Season 3 Porsche Cup champion in the pro class. He will go into the final round with an insurmountable amount of points. Congratulations, Wolf Matuszka, Season 3 Porsche Cup Pro champ.
Yeah, well, 5 for 5. I mean, he's definitely done everything he needed to. So, I mean, what else can we say but congratulations? It's been a fairly dominant victory for him.
Well, can he go a perfect 6 for 6 and do what so little of people have ever even had the opportunity to do? We've seen several drivers come close. Nate and I used to do Diamond Drive. It almost happened, but it didn't. Could Wolf Matuszka make RCI history in 1 week's time? Who is going to finish second? Nyring had an excellent race, but Boardman didn't have a bad race himself, finishing inside the top 10. As there's many battles rather besides, and some of the finishing positions, if I look back at my notes, they are going to shake it up even further. The final race is going to be an absolute must watch. Today, very chaotic. I think you're going to see much of the same in the final round in 1 week's time.
Yeah, Barcelona, I'm looking forward to it, Jesse. It's going to be fantastic. Plenty of opportunity for overtaking there. So these, the people fighting for, second and up now are going to have plenty of chances to get around one another. And I imagine we'll see some more spicy action.
I think that is going to be the case. Before we leave you here, we invite you to like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT racing action. I'll be back with you with Tim Peck and Christian Stricker on Thursday for GT4. On Friday, myself and Ryan Mawson, joined by Stewie for GT3 Friday Championship, and the return of Night Owl on Saturday with myself, Ryan Mawson, and our broadcaster for that race. And we thank you all for being with us for this great race. Wolf Matuszka chasing history. We came into today talking about it being him versus the field, trying to go a perfect 5 for 5. Could he go for 6? He now has that opportunity, and he has the championship sewed up. Before we leave you, a big thank you to you for being here, and a big thank you to all of our partners that make this race and every race possible. RaceDepartment.com, the ultimate repository for sim racing news and modifications. AK Informatica for their server hosting. Driver 61, you can get 25% off our off driver coaching at driver61.com by using our discount code. Link in the description, driver61.com. Fanatec, feel free to use our affiliate link when you make any Fanatec purchase. It costs you absolutely nothing and it may help us out on the back end. And of course, Fanatec has the best sim racing equipment, direct drive, new bundle announced just a week ago. A matter of fact, at an exciting price to get you started. SimRacing.gp, if you're tired of pub racing, tired of getting crashed, SimRacing.gp, excellent place to go for some excellent racing and community. Well, Nate, it's been a very interesting race. I think Hungaroring lived up to the hype.
Oh, it was fantastic. I think by far this has been probably one of the most action-packed races I've commented on in this series. There's been, well, 90% of it was clean, none of it was silly, and it was great to watch.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, it's time for us to leave you. On behalf of everybody here at RCI, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Nate and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.